welcome to the Live Loving Livestream with John Davis. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Live Loving Livestream. It is I, John, here in the fabulous John of New Studios. Let me know out there, guys, if the sound is good tonight. I got a new preamp for the microphone, trying to increase the sound, making it a little bit better for you guys. Let me know. I'm going to jump over to my other camera now. And here I am in the fabulous John of New main set. I hope you guys are doing great. I'm very excited to be here. I see everybody hopping in down there. If you guys don't mind, one of the things I'd like to start is when you have a question or a topic, if you could just, right before you type it, just click that caps lock and just put it all in caps. That'll make them stand out for me to be able to read them quicker and for others to be able to see them in the chat box, which would be just lovely. Hearing loud and clear. Oh, thank you, Tyler. That's so nice to hear. I bought something called a Fetbit, which attaches to the back of your microphone, which makes it nice and boosts the sound a little bit. So I wanted to start tonight, before we got into your questions and your topics, I wanted to talk tonight about one of my core beliefs. And I believe that God is love. And I believe that we are one with God. And because I believe God is love, then loving gestures, loving experiences, are part of God, are one with God and experiencing God. I think that when people begin to limit themselves by their faith, by their belief, they tend to close themselves off from parts of God. Because I don't believe God can be encompassed by any one religion, because love can be found in all of them. And love can be found in atheists. Love can be found in every branch of spiritual thought. And what's sparking this conversation, what's sparking this topic for me tonight is I had a conversation earlier with a man who said to me, he says, you speak heresy. And I stole a line from Robin Hood, Errol Flynn's Robin Hood, and I said fluently, right? Because to me, the word heresy is such an interesting word, because the word heresy means I don't believe what your doctrines believe. In other words, he was saying I was speaking heresy because what I was saying didn't match what he believed, and it's heresy. And in the Middle Ages, if you'd called someone a heretic, they'd have been burned at the stake. They would have been, killed, beheaded. The word heresy is such an ugly word. And the reason it's so ugly is because it's a non-loving word. And please don't get me wrong, I was not offended by this person. I understood that was their belief and their faith, and I respect their belief and their faith. I just don't respect their judgment. The fact that they're judging others and not opening themselves up to see the love in other people, right? And the conversation started because of the video series that I started over on the Level Up Spirit channel about the Apocryphon of John. And this person had seen one of my 60-second shorts that was cut from one of those videos. And he came out to talking about that the whole book itself is nothing but heresy. And I was like, yeah, so I started asking some questions back and forth. And so that's how I got into the topic. But I kind of thought about that word heresy. And I really thought about the idea that if you're closing yourself off to love for the majority of the world, because the majority of the world is not Christian. It is the largest religion in the world, but it's not the majority of people in the world. There are more people in the world that are not Christian than there are Christians. And when you're closing yourself off from the idea that a Buddhist can love, or a Hindu can love, or a Baha'i can love, or a Wiccan can love, or an atheist can love, and that God is that love, or that in today's modern society, or that LGBTQ can love. When they shut themselves off in that way from the concept of God being love in any form, it cannot be wrong, because love is God. And to me, when I look at words like heresy and blasphemer and false prophet and all those things, what I see is fear. And what I see is fear. And that fear comes from the fact that they believe in a fearful God, and their belief says that everybody else is wrong for not believing in a fearful God. And so they want to cast fears. And so if you're going through the world and you're talking about the things that we're talking about, and people are taking offense to it, understand it's their fears and not your truth. Follow your own truth, whether it matches mine or not. The Buddha once said, believe no one, even me, unless it rings true to your spirit. And so believe only you. Use your own discernment to think, does this feel right to me? And if it feels right to you, then follow that truth, because you're going to follow the loving aspects. You're going to follow the things that are loving and joyful, and express that into the world. And recognize that every time you have that experience, that you yourself are delivering love, because you're being that love and you're expressing that love, and your authentic self is that love. So I just wanted to hop on and just talk about that just a little bit before we got going. I see we have a couple of all caps things going on down there. Thank you guys for putting the questions in all caps. It makes it so much easier. Let me start with Joe here. Mike, why all of us can't experience what you did when Jeshua put his hands on your chest? I want that. I experience it often. And when I sit in love in the morning, I experience it. But the thing is that the connection to God is at the bottom of every breath. And it's not a matter of wanting something outside of yourself. It's a matter of clearing away the obstacles of the things that's already there. Because you are one with God. You are the connection. You are with the source. When you come to that natural space, you have the Kundalini rising experience. You have the blending with Jeshua experience. You have the oneness experience. The other day I was talking about the idea that in our membership group, I was talking about the idea that all of these words, Kundalini rising, all these things, all they are is transitioning into the oneness. They're going back, they're blending back into the one source in many different forms. We just have different labels for them. And in reality, the only thing that hinders our view of that source is our fears and our anxieties. And we release our fears as soon as we exhale. See, what happens is when you find yourself in a moment where you're really, truly laughing, that's a really, really good example. You're really, truly laughing. You're enjoying the moment. Something really hit you as funny. And I can't say this on this live stream, but I had a really funny dream last night. I woke up at 3 a.m. laughing, and I had to call my friend and tell him the dream, but I'm not going to tell you the dream. Sorry. But it was the laughter. The laughter itself is a feeling. And most of us, when we laugh, we focus on the thing we're laughing at. But when you're truly laughing, if you could take just a partial second and just feel what the body is feeling in that moment, and start to acknowledge that feeling, and start to get yourself into that state of that feeling, what happens is next you're going to find a place where you are going to start to feel that feeling more, and it's going to expand, and you're going to have that experience of this oneness with God. And that's what that moment when Jeshua touched my chest, right? He was pure essence of love. He was literally carrying the feeling of being one with God. And, in the Bible, he says, the Father and I are one. And so he was being pure love. And the book of John says, fear cannot exist in pure love. And so when you are in joyful laughter, you don't have fear in that moment. You are in pure love. It's just a matter of getting your conscious awareness that you're there. And after your conscious awareness comes the other experience, the experience of the light shows and the magic, right? People will spend their entire lives looking for that light show, looking for that Kundalini rising. And in reality, it's right there. It's just a matter of saying, I am. I am joyfully living in love and experiencing that love, And that's the way you do that, Joe. All you have to do is really just start to acknowledge something that's there. Start with just the feeling and relax into it. And that's the biggest key I can give you. Relax into it. Don't want it. Don't need it. Don't struggle for it. Don't try to get it. Relax into it. Set your fears down. Relax into it. And you'll have the experience. So stop wanting it. thoughts on Matthew 18. Basically, it says, if hand, foot, and eye causes us to sin, better to cut off than cast into hell with whole body. Okay, here's my thoughts on Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I think that they were originally from Gnostic texts of Judaic sects that were trying to prove a messianic mythology, and the way they were doing that is using the fear-based elements of concepts like hell, and very much a punishment sort of situation. I don't think Jeshua ever said that, because I have no memory of him actually even talking about a hell. I heard him talking about the oneness of God, or the Father and I are one. Greater works than I have done, you will do. But I think a lot of those texts are manipulated for the agenda of the people who are writing it. And when I look at what biblical scholars say about Matthew, Mark, and Luke especially, they believe that they are originally from some original Gnostic text and all written together, but so all from the same source. They're not actually from the apostles themselves. And so when you look at what the scholars say, they're like, there's too many things that are similar, too many things that are in alignment, and the way even sometimes wording even, and they're like, it has to come from the same source of some kind. Now people are going to argue and say the source was Jeshua, but that's not from the point of view that they're giving. Point of view is their point of view, and it's a very interesting perspective. So that's my thought on Matthew 18. Let me jump down. And you're quite welcome, Russ. I'm so glad that I could give you my point of view. Once again, this is my truth. I don't expect anybody to believe anything I say. I expect you to use your own discernment and find out if it feels right to you. How was my week? Oh, that's in all caps. What a great one. Brittany, thank you. My week was good. I did a lot of what I felt like were very impactful private sessions. I feel like I helped a lot of people this week, which always makes me feel good. I got to rebuild some things in my studio, which you guys see, it always looks the same to you guys because I'm always using this set, but I built another set over here, and I got my green screen set up differently now, and so it was just an interesting and fun week of creating things, and it was kind of fun, actually. And today I had a day where I did very little. And it was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. Tomorrow I've got to do all my yard work, and I have to repair my lawn tractor and all kinds of things. So, but it was a great week. It was a wonderful week. Thank you for asking so much. Let me jump down. Well, it is sweet that you made the live show, SM. Glad you're here. Hello, Dev. How are you? I'm so happy to share. I'm always happy to share. If you go to my website, John of New, on the top of the page, there's a thing that says membership. In that membership, once a week, we all kind of gather on Zoom and get face-to-face and spend about an hour and a half laughing and talking about all kinds of different spiritual topics from all kinds of different perspectives. It's a completely open group. Anybody can talk about anything that they want to. There's no need to say they're sorry or apologize in that group. It's a safe place to just really explore without judgment or condemnation or fear. And, we all get to talk as much as we want to, and some people just like to sit and watch. And it's actually for me, it's like hanging out with a bunch of really good friends. One of them being Miss Marcy, the Spirit made me do it. Go check out her channel and subscribe. Thank you very much. To me, it's just a fun. We always laugh, and it's always fun. And when you sign up, basically, the membership group helps me keep a roof over my head, just like the donations do, and the super chats do. Thank you. Speaking of super chats, thank you very much. The membership group is that so people there's different tiers, and after a few months you get coffee mugs and T-shirts and other things show up in your mailbox, and pictures of Jeshua and all kinds of other little things show up in your mailbox. And to me, that's great. It's all automated. I don't have to. One more thing not on my list. It just happens. And but for me, it is one of the most fun things I do during the week is hanging out with a bunch of very good friends. And you can find out more about that on www.johnofnew.com. Thank you very much. I am writing a book still, and unfortunately, it's been slowed down a lot after the Level Up Spirit interview, when suddenly I was booked out till now they're starting to book through September, and I just booked some in October for my private sessions. So I've been slowly paring things away so I can get back to being able to finish that. I also want to do an online course that's creating a spiritually balanced life, and but I don't have time to do that right now either. So I'm going through my schedule and figuring out what I can pare away so I can do those things, because I really want to get those things done. And, if anybody else is interested in anything else, if you go to my channel, there's also a link that says store. If you go to the store, you can get anything that's not on the, if you're not a member, you can get any of those things members get over there and more. Sweatshirts, hats, stickers, all kinds of different things. And there'll be more products coming up soon. Especially, I have an idea for a T-shirt I want to do that basically says "I am," and then 2 parentheses, and in between it says "fill in the blank." I just think it's kind of a cool shirt. So that's just one of the ones that I want to have for myself. So I figured I'd make it. So that's over on the website too. You can go over and take a look at that if you're interested in any of that stuff. Let me jump down. I don't understand what I'm afraid of. Okay, because of what I said earlier. I get that, Joe. When we live in this physical world, the Psalms say, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. We live in a physical world where death is an imminent, right? It's an imminent thing. This death is looming over us. We have... many of us have fear of lack. So many of us have fear of being loved. Many of us fear of loving. Many of us have had situations in our life where we've been taken advantage of, so we fear being taken advantage of. There's all kinds of subconscious fears and anxieties. And the Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. And so it literally comes down to the matter of releasing the subconscious beliefs. Because a lot of people, like for instance, I was working with a lady this week who was afraid to assert herself. And it's because early on in her life, her parents told her asserting, children should be seen and not heard, and asserting herself was bad. And so her whole life has been not asserting herself because she had a habitual belief that she should not assert herself. And in that concept, she limited herself her whole life. And we had a wonderful conversation about what she wanted to do with her life, and she had a very different idea of what she could do and what she couldn't do. And she had a belief that she could do anything, and it was a matter of changing that belief and letting her break out of her fears. I hope that answers your question, Joe. Marcy, I'm glad you love the group. The group loves you too. It's like, Marcy's here, woo! Look at that. Is there something else I can do? Let's see. Don't forget, guys, if you want to put a question up, make sure you do it in all caps. It makes it easier for me and for everybody else to see as well. I heard a yogi discuss how we are human beings, not humans doers. Every moment of the day, he thought we should spend 5 to 15 minutes a day asking ourselves, who are we? What's my purpose? And I would go one further, Tyler, and I would say, choose your purpose. What is my purpose is a question. A lot of people will sit there and say, and I say this because this gets asked of me in private sessions almost every day. What is my purpose? What is my purpose? What is my purpose? Well, your purpose is whatever you choose your purpose to be, because you are the creator of your experience. And every day we are human beings. We are being it. The Gandhi said, Gandhi said, You must be the change you want to see in the world, right? And that means thought, word, and deed towards the outcome you desire. And part of the doing is, human doings that you say here, human doers. I disagree with that aspect in the fact that part of belief has motion, thought, word, and deed. And I think that the people, like for instance, right now, I'm packing my house. I think I told you guys because I know I'm moving. I don't know where I'm going yet, but I know I'm moving, so I'm packing because I've chosen to. I've chosen to put myself in that position, and so I'm putting an action towards it. So I think what I'm being is someone who is moving to the back to the beach, and I'm doing the things that are in alignment with that beingness. If that makes any sense at all. I keep getting the message to compile and rethink the Gospels. Watching you rethink the Sermon on the Mount was emboldening, and things like the Wisdom of Jesus book. Then it says, "Wah." I don't know what you were going to say after that. Sky. I think going through the Gospels is a great thing, but I one of the things I would say is, from my perspective, the Gospels all need to be read with your love goggles on. Because the stuff that is loving stands out, and the stuff that is fearful stands out as well, right? But if you focus on just what is loving, you'll find a nuance to the Bible that is very different. You'll also find the nuance to the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran and the writings of Wayne Dyer. You'll find all kinds of different things if you have your love goggles on. And remember that God is love. And if it's fearful, it's not of God. It's of the mind of man. So that's how I look at it. Once again, you have to use your own discernment. But I like the idea. If you feel called to do that, then you should absolutely do that. And that's good. You have motivation because you see people struggle under religion. Oh, thank you. I'm in the process of working on part 3 of the Apocryphon of John. There's some cool stuff coming, so I'm hoping to get that out in the next couple days. So we'll see. Good catch on the cap, Styler. Can you discuss the importance of a daily habit? Per my previous comment, you mean do it? And I've talked about this before. The quote, "Life is suffering," is really the real translation is life is suffering because of our habitual response to our past experience or subconscious belief. Same thing. Creating habit is a valuable thing. My habit when I get up in the morning is I get up. I start my coffee, thank you very much, and then I go to my love room and I sit in love, right? That habit alone has made my life so smoothed out. I don't try to do deep meditation. I just go in there and I sit in that feeling, and I live in that feeling, right? And to me, it's just going to the oneness of God for a while, right? But the difference between sleep and what I'm doing is the habit of consciously doing it. The consciously going to that state, sitting up in a chair and just feeling that state, and then having very interesting experiences that come up naturally. But it took the habit of doing it to get there. 90% of the people I talk to don't know how to meditate. They don't think they can meditate. And I tell them, everybody who gets good at meditating, they all do the same thing. They quiet their mind, and the thought comes in, they push it away. But the people who get good at it are the ones who make it a habit, and the ones who keep doing it until the quiet times in between last longer. And then they start having experiences. Am I frozen on the camera? Am I frozen to you guys? Can you hear me still? What the heck? Oh. Can you guys hear me? If you guys can hear me, let me know. I'm still going to keep talking here. I'm going to real quick shut this one camera down. Let's see if that starts me up again. Hopefully something's going to happen here. Can you hear me? Frozen up. Okay, but you can hear me, but you can't see. I'm not seeing anything. For some reason, my camera's frozen up, and I do not know why. Yeah, okay, well, I'm glad you can still hear me. I'm going to go ahead and just keep going with the questions and work on the camera while I do it, okay? So daily habit. So I am the belief that our purpose is to shed fear and grow more towards love, loving ourselves all around us. Brittany, I completely agree with that assessment. You know, we come here to experience our fears and anxieties, and when I say fears and anxieties, and I'm saying this specifically for Joe. We come here to experience our fears and anxieties, meaning our separation from Source. And your comment earlier about I want that about wanting that feeling of Jeshua. That, oh my God, how can I change this? Okay. Wanting that feeling of Jeshua is the, and you might not think of it in that way, but it is the separation itself, and that wanting that gives you that feeling of separation. And it's a matter of getting back to the source of it all. I'm still playing with my camera here. So let me jump down here and see if I can find another question. Sky, you said that you wish they need to be revised. I had someone ask me the other day if I would ever consider starting a church, and my answer was absolutely not. And the reason it was absolutely not in their own feelings. I do not know how to get my camera to turn back on here, folks. Sorry to say. Because it is just frozen. I'm glad you can still hear me, though. Moving down. Keep dropping in and out. Okay, so let me... yeah. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, everyone. I'm going to, because we're not that far into this, I'm going to close down this live stream and start a new one. And that way I think it might reboot everything. Does that sound good to you guys? Okay, I'm going to close it down. And okay, I'm back. I think I'm back now. Let me know if you can see me moving and see my face again. I'm trying to look at it on my iPad as well. Can you hear me? Can you hear me right now? If you can, click back on. And great. I'm back. Yay. Can you see me? Let me see here. Yay. There I am. There you go. I'm so glad you guys are back. I'm so glad I'm back too. Yay. There I am. That was a little frustrating. You guys are back. I'm so glad I'm back. I'm going to I got to turn my mic down here. Sorry, my iPad was talking loud. Looking good. I'm back. Okay, live vid and sound is back. Great. Amanda, yes. Hello, Amanda. Okay. Pauline Coffee, your last name. Near and dear to my heart. Great. All is well. Beautiful. Awesome. So let me go back up and see if I missed any questions up here. I hear you only. Yeah, I mean only. Yeah, Frozen. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my setup here. It just suddenly went away, and it was like a mess. So let's keep going with questions, guys. Now I will tell you, it on my end, I got out of my software, came back into my software, and it continued recording. It resumed. So this will still be the same video online if you want to go back and see any of any of that that missing moments or hear those things we talked about. Let me jump back up. Next questions. Okay. I'm talking about take out negative and misogynistic stuff, replace the devil with ignorance, repent and lighten, update, so to speak, so church can bring. Yeah, it's a great idea, Sky. And when you start diving into the history of it, you find out just so many things. Like the word Satan means temptation, and so when Jeshua was in the desert battling with Satan, he was battling with his temptations. He was battling with his own mind and his physical world needs. And the temptations are, once again, those fears that I was speaking about with Joe earlier. He's battling with those things. You also have to understand that when Jeshua did that, he had people asking him to be a king. He was being tempted with power, like real physical world power. And he was battling his own temptations over becoming a ruler. And he didn't want to be a ruler. He wanted to be the person who shared the oneness of God. So, he had his human side, and that was what the battle in the wilderness was about. And, when you see the word Gehenna, that's the word they used for hell, and that was where they used to burn the trash outside of Jerusalem. So there's a lot of stuff in there that when you dive into it. The one thing that always makes me interested is the story of Constantine. Constantine came to the Nicene Council, which is the definitive council that created the Bible. And he came to that council dressed as the pagan sun god and remained a pagan until his deathbed when he was baptized. But he is the one who started Christianity. And his mother became a saint. And she was the one who said where all the holy sites were, which they're now proving that they're not in the correct places, which I find really interesting. There's carbon dating things, and it goes back to the time of her, not before. And so that to me is interesting. So what other questions do we have, my friends? Let's get into some more conversation stuff. Anything that you guys are going through that you'd like to discuss or talk about? By the way, I don't know who it was that was here last week. We talked to someone about a relationship thing they were going through, and we gave the advice of, show him the love that he was afraid of not having. And I got a wonderful message from her the next day saying how much it had worked. she went and she did it, and she said it was a wonderful conversation, and they shared things they had not been able to share, and they had and she said, I haven't felt this way from my husband for a long time. So, and if you're here tonight, thank you so much for sharing that. It meant a great deal to me. It meant a great deal to me to see that number one, you tried it, but it validated the stuff that I know works, but it's nice to hear validations of that now and again as well. So, can you guys still hear me? I haven't seen a lot of chatting in the chat board down there. I'm trying to refresh it. Let me see if I can. Yeah. I would never start a new church. I'm not getting any more comments down here. Occasionally spotty, but good. I've got good internet here. I've got extremely good internet. Can you give pointers for calming thoughts while sitting in meditation? I love your phrase, sitting in love. I do experience that quiet and stillness and love when meditating. Well, my pointers would be that to continue to make a habit of going back, to go back to what Tyler said earlier, is make it habitual that you keep going back to that feeling. When a thought pops up saying, not doing that now, doing this, and keep going back. And the quiet times will last longer, and the experiences will last longer, and the feeling of love that you're sitting in will expand and grow. But it is habitual. You have to make a habit of it. That's why I like to do it not only when I sit in the morning, but when I go grocery shopping. You've heard me tell that story. When I go out in the world, when my son arrives, I'm always so thrilled to see him, and he feels that love. We hug each other. We're two big, over 6 foot tall men, and we we hug each other. We just love each other. Still say I love you every day, right? And to hear a 19-year-old bearded man say that to his bearded father is just a beautiful thing in my mind. Let me jump down. You didn't hear my answer to starting a church. My answer was absolutely not. My answer was absolutely not. I don't think we need more churches. I think we need more people waking up to their own discernment, because I think that when people go inside, everybody wants to be loved in some form. And when people go inside, what they're looking for is unconditional love. And when they use their own discernment, they start to follow the things that lead them to unconditional love. Well, what is unconditional love? God. And so another church would just be another thing that would be an external for people to gear themselves towards, or to say, I'm a member of this. Well, I believe this because I'm in this church. I just don't want to have the opportunity for people to take what I'm saying and make it into a new doctrine, because I think love can be found everywhere. And I think in my Father's house there are many mansions, and it's a matter of realizing that if someone creates another church, it's less about the teachings and more about the church. And quite honestly, you can't have a better church than YouTube. I talk to people all over the world every day. And what I'm really doing is I'm just putting the information out for free without expectations. And I specifically say multiple times, if it doesn't feel true, don't follow it. Because it's important that they come to their own realization that they and the Father, I don't like the Father phrase because I don't think God is gender specific, but it comes back to that phrase of, just be loving, or as I would love to say, live a loving life. That's why we do the Live Loving Livestream. Jumping down, see what else here. Potential topics: spiritual experiences in and with nature, animals, trees, flowers, etc. It's etc. Every time I hear the word etc., I think of Yul Brynner and King and I, etc., etc. When I was early on in all of the psychics telling me about my past life, I was really having a struggle with it, an emotional struggle with it. And I think I might have told you guys this story. I went out and I sat by a pond in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in a park. And I just sat there, and I had a Rottweiler. His name was Odin. He was the biggest lap dog in the world. It's just a doll baby of a dog. And I wanted to get away from everybody, and I wanted to go over, and I sat next to this pond. And I'm sitting there at this pond, and I hear this little splash. And I look over, and right like 4 feet offshore is a log sticking out of the water. And there were 13 turtles on that log. And I looked around, and there was a rabbit to my right over here. And there was iguanas. and birds chirping on. It was like 30 animals around me within very close distance, and my dog wasn't barking at them. We were all just sitting there in this calm, sitting in love state, but I went over there just to recenter myself. And the animals were all right there and not afraid of me at all. And to me, it was fascinating that all these animals would be so close. And to me, it was because of the calmness. I tell the story of Swami Narayan and the lion, where he says, "Because I'm without fear, he gave me nothing to be fearful for." Because I was in that calm state, the animals had nothing to be fearful for. When I walk out my back door, I have a big backyard, and the deer come and they eat in my backyard. And when I walk out the back door, they're in the backyard. I walk out on the back deck, and they raise their head and they look at me, and I say, "Good morning. How are you?" And I sit down in my chair, and they go back to eating. They don't run away. They stay right there. They hang out in the backyard. The back of my property, I've got 2 big crabapple trees. And they go back there, and when the crab apples are coming in, they eat from the tree. And they even get to the point where they stand on their hind legs and eat crab apples, and then walk on their hind legs to the other tree to eat the eat the apples from that tree. But to me, it's being in that state allows that to have that interaction. I go out in my backyard and I talk to my owl that lives in the woods. I whoo, and he whoos back at me. He does 2, I do 2. He does 3, I do 3. I did the same thing with the robin, where I'd sit on my back deck and I'd whistle and he'd whistle. And it got to the point where that robin, every time I'd walk out the door, he'd fly over and land on the closest branch to the deck. And the 2 of us would just talk back and forth for 20 minutes, One time in northern Ohio, I was sitting in the woods meditating because there's this beautiful creek. And I remember sitting there, and I was just sitting in love, feeling that experience. And I came out of it, I looked up, and a blue heron flew about 4 feet above my head. And that was because of the calm nature. There was nothing for that bird to be afraid of. I got up after that, and I walked around, and there was a log that was out over the stream there. And the log, a big tree had fallen, and it was like a natural bridge that had been created. So I walked out on the log. It was a huge tree. I walked out on the log, and I was halfway across, and I hear this rustling next to me. And I look over, and there's an 8-point buck staring at me. And the 2 of us had a moment of just like staring at each other. And then suddenly I was like, "Cool!" And I took off running. He tripped and fell. I was like, "Oh my God, cool!" I suddenly got excited, and it ruined the moment. But I think in nature, those things happen, My father, who was not a nice individual, but used to tell the story when we lived in Wilmington, Delaware, of a Christmas Mass that they were having outside of this church and I don't even know what church it was up there. I think it was probably St. Catherine's or something like that. And they had an outdoor altar that they used to go out and do some rituals or ceremonies at. And they were out there, and there was this light dusting of snow, and they did a processional out to this outside altar during the winter, Christmas time. And as they walked down, the priest raised his hand as this to say stop. And this deer walked out of the woods and walked up to the altar and grazed in front of the altar, like it had bowed its head, and then wandered on. So I think the interconnectedness with nature is there, and I think that it all comes down to they're part of the oneness of God as well. And I think that if we literally, as within, so without, and that's the way I see it. I hope that answers your question. It was a long way. It was a long way to answer that one. Love to see a picture of you and your son. Let's see a picture of my son. That is my son. Only now he's fully bearded. Only now he's, like I said, he's fully bearded. And of course, this is my lovely mother, who I talk about all the time. This is a few years before she passed away. And no, those aren't antennas. That's a contorted filbert plant. Hi, Chitra. Welcome. Jump down here, see what else we got. Don't forget, if you have questions, put them in all caps, please. Chesapeake City, Maryland. Well, I'm originally from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, so I know where Chesapeake City is very, very well. In fact, I think I've got relatives in Chesapeake City, the Espinosas and the Rosses. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, St. Francis of Assisi with animals. Yeah, absolutely. What did Joshua mean by he is not going to leave me? Let me read the whole thing so everybody sees that. 7 years ago, I was in a bad car accident. Joshua told me he was not going to leave me. I walked out of that car accident unharmed. What did Joshua mean by he was not going to leave me? First of all, let me ask you, what do you think he means? When you're in a traumatic moment on earth, the oneness of God comes, and it comes in the form that we're all very familiar with, and Joshua can be that form. Joshua has come into my life many, many times. When I was in Norway, the picture that I took of the church, same thing. He's not going to leave you because he can't leave you, because you're one with him. But what happened there was the individual consciousness of Joshua was there for you in that time of need. And, had you had a different belief, it might have been Shiva. It might have been Buddha. It might have been your favorite uncle, But, and they're not going to leave you. They're going to stay with you through this, whatever the situation is. Years ago, I saw on TV a car chase. And a guy had stolen a Corvette. And he was driving down the road at 100 miles an hour, and he swerved between two 18-wheelers, lost control, and rolled the car like 15 times because he was going so fast. And if you watch the footage, it's incredible because it's like it rolls, and then the car keeps rolling, and the driver, is sitting on the side of the road, and the car kept going. It was like he came out of the car. He basically had a bruise, no injuries. What was it that saved him in that moment? Well, when they talked to him, he said that, it was actually his mom, is what he said, was there to help him. So it's a really interesting thing. Time slows down. People have that experience in life where things are happening and time seems to slow down. Time slows down. Our reality shifts, but this reality is filled with the oneness of everyone and everything, whoever spent time in the physical and who haven't. And so it's a matter of what your connection is to the other side. It might be Jeshua, it might be, as I said, Buddha or Krishna or whatever, but it comes down to they're not going to leave you. And they'll come to you in the individuality that you're most comfortable with, that is most helpful for you. So if that makes sense. Jump down. I hope that answers your question, Duran. You seem to know about many religions, teachings, recommendations, places, pilgrimages, etc. You'll notice here, The Second Coming of Christ, Yogananda, amazing book. Then, of course, the Bible, the Gita, Deepak Chopra, Course in Miracles, right here, right? The book that I've talked about on many other ones, I, John, the antique book I told you guys about. But if you saw that bookshelf, which you'll get a chance to see soon because that's the new set over there, you'll see that I've got hundreds of other books. Just read and just search and find people who know what they're talking about and just dive in and do it with an open mind. And I've been to India. I've been to all through the Middle East, Egypt, Peru, the Holy Land. And I'll be honest with you, I learn more from the people than I do from any shrine, any church, any pilgrimage. The people that I'm dealing with in life are the ones who teach me the most. And when I read, I find the things that show up in my interactions with people. And I think that's what we all should be interacting with people in some form and recognizing the love in every one of them. So let me jump down again. Have you or anyone remember experiencing existence without fear? When Joshua touched me on my heart, I had no fear. When I had the Kundalini rising, I had no fear. And there have been times in my physical life where I have been without fear, though fearful things were happening around me. In Iraq, I was in a Black Hawk helicopter taking off, and the RPG went right underneath the helicopter and actually hit the Humvee I ate lunch in. But I never had fear in that moment. And I on those tours, on those 6 USO tours, I always found myself at the exact right place at the right time when someone needed spiritual conversation. There were times where I had to go fix something on one of our props, and the rest of the team went off to do other stuff, and I had to stay back and work on it. And it just happened to be that was the moment that the right person was there, needed to have a conversation with me. And so, to me, I always found myself just trusting that I'm where I'm supposed to be. When 9/11 happened, the first casualty of that tragedy that came out of the building was the firehouse chaplain. And when they opened his wallet, there was a little card in the wallet, and the wallet said, "Take me where you want me to go, show me who you want me to meet, tell me what you want me to say, and help me stay out of the way." And to me, that is one of the most beautiful statements, and it's kind of how I kind of live my life, is putting myself out of the way so I can be of service in that way. And to me, it fills me. It fills my soul that way. That's why I have 1,000 videos on the channel in a year and a half, is because it fills my soul to put them out. So it's a matter of you being in that state of not fearing. I'll tell you what. Putting out the story that I've put out, for many people, it's very fearful. And I get people tell me all the time, "Thank you so much for doing this. So brave of you." It didn't feel brave to me. It felt like what I should do. It just felt like the right thing to do. I had this experience, I've been seeing incredible results from the teachings, and it just felt like the right thing to put them out there. And so that's what, so yes, fearful or fearless. I felt like I'm much less fearful than I was in most of my youth. Anyway, hey Larry, thank you so much. That will keep a roof over my head. Thank you very much. Let me jump back down to see what else. Was John the Beloved, as John the Beloved, did you have wife and kids? Actually, Becky, it's an interesting question, because when Jeshua met John, he did not have wife and kids. And when Jeshua touched his heart, John never took a wife and kids. And it wasn't because he was a Pharisee, because that was the belief in, if you're doing the spiritual work, you're celibate, right? That was from a Pharisee belief. But John had an experience on that beach where he experienced that pure, unconditional love and the oneness with God. And nothing could touch it. And from that point, and you hear it right in the regression, I came back from that experience, and the next most important moment was feeling my fears and my anxieties and watching him walk away. And I literally say, he gave me a glimpse of everything, and I have to be with him. And the rest of John's life was being with the man who showed him everything and showing him the pure essence of love and who we are and our divine nature. And John literally had no interest in a wife or kids from that point on, which was very interesting. I'm glad you asked that question. Thank you so much, Becky. Debbie, you say you don't know much about religion. Consider yourself lucky. The Bible says you must become as a child to enter the kingdom of God. A child, when they're born, has no religion. They're given it. And you must come back to that place of no dogma, no beliefs, to go back to, because all the dogmas, all the religions, all the beliefs give you a fear, of not being right. And so that in itself is a potential for keeping you away from the source. Oh, beautiful, Kelly. That's beautiful. It's people. It's the people. And I'll tell you something, Kelly. When I traveled the world, I've been to 30 countries, and I have met beautiful people in every one of them. Every one of them. When I traveled through Egypt, I swear to you, that everybody treated me like I was their family. And even the ones who weren't asking for bakshish, tips, right? Everybody treated me like just lovely and beautifully. And I told the story of climbing Mount Sinai, and the man ran up the mountain an hour and a half to give me his coat because he thought I'd be cold. You know, I think when you're putting out love to everyone, you get that experience back. And I think it really is a matter of us living love into the world and being the expression of God, all of us, not just the priest, not just the nun, whatever, or the leader of any religious group. All of us just put love in the world. Just live loving, and the world will love living. How about that? Chitra, thank you. Yes, I actually feel it's one of the things that keeps me going. Honest to God, is every day I get someone telling me they love me, or that they resonate with what I'm saying, or that they I can't tell you how many people tell me, I believe my whole life. I've never heard anybody say it. I hear that one a lot. And to me, it's just beautiful to get that kind of validation and that love in return. And I appreciate it every day. I feel so good about what I do, and I just love what I do. Let me jump down here. Here, just a great one. This great one. Wendy D. Christianity says that humans are born fallen, but did Joshua say that humans are divine? Yes. In the Bible, Joshua literally says, "Ye are gods. Greater works than I have done, you will do." Right? He literally says, "You are the children of God." Right? And it's a matter of saying that you are divine. You are. And at one point he says, "Take heart, I have overcome the world." Right? He wasn't saying that to say, "Take heart and follow me and do what, because I am divine." He was saying, "Take heart. Look, I've done it. You can do it too." Right? He was showing the divinity. And then he washed his disciples' feet to show that he was no better than they. He called himself the Son of Man to say, "Look, I'm doing these things, but I'm a son of a man. I'm a man just like you." So yes, exactly. That is exactly what he was saying. And the concept of original sin and being fallen at birth is not about the teachings of Jeshua. It's about having something that forces people to indoctrinate their children into a religion. That's what that is. You have to be baptized to get rid of that original sin. And so that's just part of the process of using fear and anxiety. Because if not, they're going to go to limbo or to hell, depending on which which version of the church you're going through. So it's a matter. Hang on, I see Spirit Junkie saying the audio is terrible. Is the audio terrible for everybody, or is it just for Spirit Junkie? Please let me know. Because I do have a new preamp, and I want to make sure it's working correctly. My teen nephew is dealing with depression. What can I say or do for him? That's a tough topic, because it's a matter of showing him the pure love, the unconditional love. Depression always comes from fear of some kind, whether it was pre-birth, where they've chosen to come into fear and then work their way through it, or, and I say chosen. I don't think it's a fate or a destiny. I think it's a we choose potential paths, if pre-birth. But if depression came on later in life, there was something that triggered it, and the things that triggered it are often being made to feel like they're not worthy or feel like they can never get ahead. A lot of times parents who are very well-meaning will have high expectations of their children, and their children can never meet them, and they often fall into depression. So it's a matter of remembering to give that boy as many positive reinforcements as you can. Give the boy an opportunity to feel like he's done something great, done something good, even if it's just a matter of, can you help me pick up the trash in my yard or clean up my property? And he comes over and he helps you. Oh, thank you! Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You don't know how much. And then do something nice in return. Give him the positive reinforcements that he can then grasp a hold of and feel the love of, right? And a lot of times in depression, they'll lose themselves in that fear because no one takes the step of really showing them unconditional love and not focus. And when I say unconditional love, I don't mean focusing on the depression. I mean focusing on how great they are, how good they are, how capable they are, and giving them the positive reinforcement so that they'll continue to go for more positive reinforcement, and it drastically change their life. I do love people. She's walking away. I'm just reading down through. Debbie, thank you for finding me. I was feeling lost without you. I'm sorry. I'm a comedian by trade. Sorry, former trade. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you found us and this wonderful community that we have here. You'll find loving, caring people here who are all on their different journeys, different paths, but they all come back to that love as the source. So I totally appreciate that. Bethany Dananda, hello, Bethany. Beautiful, hi Bethany. I'm loving Bethany. Going down. Audio goose. Oh, I'm assuming you mean good. Okay. Good audio. So I think whoever was having the bad audio earlier, I think it was on them. Audio is fine. My sound is great. Audio good. Right back at you. That's for Bethany. How to deal with someone who is in the midst of psychotic break, spiritual awakening type thing. Once again, it's going to be the same situation. You need to give them the place of safety, the pure unconditional love. And it's a matter of being the place where they can go and just be themselves. And pardon my French on this, sometimes you got to be the place where they can go lose their shit, where they can go drop things off. If they're in a really bad place, the danger of that is, and I don't like using the word danger because I don't believe in fearful things, but it can create an addiction to you if you become the place where they come and dump their stuff. So you have to love yourself enough to say, I'm not going to be your crutch, but I'm going to give you a safe place to be you. But as soon as I realize that you're just using me to dump your stuff, then I'm gonna move away at that point, because you have to love yourself equally. So that's just something to think about in that situation. Hearing great, hear it fine. Thanks, Don. Yeah, Amanda, as far as your nephew, it's just a matter of don't think about depression. Don't think about what a great kid he is. And if he's not exhibiting greatness, help him find things that will show his greatness. What are the things he loves to do? Go do those things with him and show him that you care about him enough to do those things. Well, thank you very much. I did trim and I did shave, knocked it back. I was getting grizzly there for a while, so I did a little trim. Thank you for noticing, Bethany. You are quite welcome, Brittany. Well, Larry, you could not give me a better compliment than to say that my humor is a breath of fresh air, because I believe God is at the bottom of every breath. And so that is a tremendously great compliment, which I Totally appreciate. Well, guys, we're running down to the end of our time here. I know we had a glitch in the middle there. So any other last questions or comments you'd like me to touch on before we get out of here? Just let me know. Yeah. Well, Bethany, you say you always notice new hairstyles. Mine is just I just took my shaver and shaved it. What's the best way to deal with an eating addiction? Thank you. Okay, let's talk about it. For me to talk about this, I have to talk about addiction first. Addiction is medicating fear. And all fear has the primal reaction of holding air in our bodies. And I can't tell you how many people I've helped stop smoking by saying a couple of very simple things. And so the next time you feel like you want to smoke, go take a breathing break. And go outside and deep breathe and exhale fully, relax all your muscles. You know, if you're an alcoholic and you're like, I need a drink, and then you get your drink, and you allow yourself to exhale. I need a cigarette. And you allow yourself to relax and exhale. I need a slice of pizza. Oh, God, it's so good. And we allow ourselves to exhale. Next time you have that moment of realizing that you're having that feeling, allow yourself to exhale. Start just relaxing and releasing. And realize that the addiction it's an addiction. Sex is an addiction. I knew a guy who was severely addicted to sex. I've had many readings of people who are addicted to pornography. And it's always the same thing. Everything leads them to the place where they allow themselves to relax enough to be themselves. Because the rest of the time they're in such fear, they're holding all this air in their bodies that it's not being released. So they feel stressed and anxious. And the only thing that makes them feel better is to eat or smoke or drink or have sex. And it's a matter of going back to that love state, going back to the place where God is at the bottom of your breath, and go back there and realize you're safe there. Because in reality, all of it's fear, right? And if you're in the middle of someplace fearful and you can suddenly be somewhere safe, don't you exhale? Because that's what it is. Go ahead and exhale and be in the safe place, because you can be there just by exhaling. I hope that answers your question. All right. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. Kathy, I'm going to go ahead and answer your thing real quick here. Sometimes other people's problems aren't ours to fix. Sometimes it's theirs to fix. Just a good part of the support team for them. I agree with you 100%. In fact, I would say every time it's there for them to fix, and we shouldn't try to fix anyone, because in reality, they are more powerful when they come to have the skills to fix it on their own. And so we are in support if they need us, but coming through their own journey really is like even the nephew that was with depression, being the love and the support doesn't mean that you're spoon feeding him the answers. You're just being a place where he can relax, where he can be safe, where he can know he's good and he doesn't have to be depressed. So anyway, guys, this has been lovely. Thank you so much for this evening. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Sorry about the technical glitch earlier. I have no idea why it happened. But I'm very happy to know that if it happens again, ever, I can shut down and come right back into it again. So that's a good thing. So thank you all, my friends. Have a great night. I love you all. And I will see you next Friday. And just a reminder, next Friday we're having the live stream, but on the 12th, I believe it is. Hold on. Yeah, the 12th. There will not be a live stream on the 12th because I'm going to go see John Edward up in Cleveland. So I won't be home during that time slot. But we'll come back to the live stream the following week. So next week we'll have one. By the way, next Friday day, I'm doing a second interview with Passion Harvest. And I'll be putting up the discount code again for anybody who wants to book private sessions. Currently, I'm booking into September and October right now. So, and it's only going to get further out because I've got some other things coming up. So, if you want to get if you want to have a private session, I'm just letting you know we're months out, and I think it's going to continue to be months out because I don't know if anybody else noticed my channel that was 4,000 subscribers not that long ago crossed 6,800 today. So we're doing great. So, and that's because of you guys. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you next week. See you, bud. Bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving Livestream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and visit us at johnofnew.com.